The Great Fool. Taigu, also read Taigu, 1584 to 1669, stands as one of the prominent figures of 17th century Rinzai Zen Buddhism. Though many details of Taigu's life remain obscure, he was born in 1584 in the present-day Gifu Prefecture. At the age of 31, in 1615, he received Dharma transmission, which marked his spiritual maturity, along with the Buddhist name Taigu, meaning Great Fool. Later in life, in 1664, the elderly Taigu received the honorary title Shoso Haiso Zenji, Zen Master All Forms Are Without Form, from Emperor Reijin. He passed away in 1669 at the age of 85 at Dianji Temple. The name Taigu, or Great Fool, bestowed upon such an elevated Zen master might seem puzzling or paradoxical. To the untrained mind, the word fool denotes someone unwise or silly. However, within Zen tradition, the fool transcends such conventional meanings. Historically, jesters and fools were not merely entertainers, they spoke inconvenient truths, often offering piercing wisdom cloaked in humor. Shakespeare's fools, for example, held up mirrors to kings and queens during their critical moments. Similarly, Zen great fools like Taigu embodied supernatural wisdom, profound simplicity, and an aversion to cultural elitism. Zen masters who earned this title were often unconventional in their lifestyle. Figures like Taigu and Ryokan lived simple, pure, and selfless lives, communicating with nature and refusing to conform to social expectations. They were kind, generous, and profoundly compassionate. It was not uncommon for such masters to forget to beg for food because they were preoccupied with playing with children or attending to nature. The Great Fool thus reflects a state of mind that transforms suffering into freedom, a unique path to enlightenment that avoids worldly attachments and ego. The following anecdotes typify Taigu's life and character, revealing his unconventional wisdom, eccentric mannerisms, and profound insight. Number 1. Living in a roofless boat. A Korean Zen master named Myokan said to a fellow monk, "Of all the Zen masters you've encountered, who do you believe possesses true, transcendent insight?" The monk paused before replying, "In all of Japan, there are no true Zen masters save for one man named Taigu. Yet he is a peculiar figure, his behavior is rough and unpolished. Taigu has a habit of drinking excessively, wandering through life perpetually in a state between drunkenness and sobriety. He curses freely and shows no restraint in his speech. For all his outward coarseness, however, there is something deeply profound and unfathomable about his spiritual presence." Hearing this, Myokan's eyes lit up with delight. He exclaimed, "This is the kind of teacher I've been searching for." He traveled over 100 miles and reached Taigu, who was living in a roofless houseboat. When they finally met, it was as though they were long-lost friends. Taigu welcomed Myokan warmly, and the two spent the entire day together, talking, laughing, and sharing their hearts as if no time or distance had ever separated them. Number 2. The old woman's challenging question at the cremation service. In a small village, there was an old woman who had lost her only child and was overwhelmed with grief. Seeking solace in her sorrow, she approached the master and earnestly pleaded with him to officiate the cremation service for her beloved child. Out of compassion and duty, the master agreed and performed the ceremony with all the reverence and care befitting such a solemn occasion. Once the service had concluded, the old woman approached the master and said, "Your Reverence, I humbly ask you, where has my child gone now? What has become of my little one's spirit?" The master, so revered for his wisdom, found himself utterly speechless. Faced with the raw, desperate plea of a grieving mother, he could not summon an answer to provide comfort she sought. The old woman, with tears streaming down her withered face, turned away and departed, her grief unrelieved. Left alone, the master was deeply troubled. "How can this be?" he thought. "All this time, I believed I had attained a true understanding of the way. Yet now, when confronted with such a question in a moment of profound significance, I realize I do not know where the deceased have come to rest." Feeling unworthy of his role and humbled by his own ignorance, the master resolved to leave the temple behind. He set out once more on a pilgrimage, determined to deepen his understanding of life, death, and the true nature of the way. Number 3. Tears without end on the path to realization. Days turned into weeks as the master wandered the roads, his heart heavy and his mind restless. Tears without end lined his cheeks, a constant reminder of the sorrow he had witnessed and his own unresolved doubts. Taking only his worn meditation cushion, the master set off to the mountains of Omi, a remote and quiet place where he could seek clarity in solitude. All day he sat on a hard, unyielding rock, his body still and his mind focused. At night, he would move to a wooden platform cover that spanned a deep well, meditating without pause as the stars wheeled above him. Suddenly one night the master's meditation cushion wore through and the wood slats of the well platform supporting him snapped. At that moment he experienced realization of the koan he had puzzled over till that time and composed a gatha poem. Dust and dirt, the squabbling over right and wrong, loss and gain. As night wears on, the rain lets up. It's hard, they say, to forget the places to which one's grown accustomed. Tears without end line my cheeks. Number 4. Rejecting Emperor's Invitation. Taigu's profound realization of Zen practice had earned him great acclaim and the word of his reputation eventually reaching the retired emperor. Intrigued, the emperor sought an audience with Taigu and conveyed his wishes through Master Gudo, one of Taigu's contemporaries. However, Taigu firmly declared, "I can be a host, I can never be a guest." To him, the act of complying with such a summons risked compromising the purity and independence of his Zen practice. Reflecting on the matter later, Taigu remarked, "Had I responded to the imperial summons, our school would likely have fallen into the dirt." Sometime later, the emperor, still intent on meeting Taigu, once again requested Master Gudo to summon him. Gudo conveyed the emperor's wishes to Taigu, who humbly replied, "I am but a simple country priest. I'm not someone fit to appear before noble and exalted persons." Though Taigu's words appeared modest, they concealed his deep understanding of the risks involved in aligning spiritual practice with political power. Taigu later elaborated, saying, "Had I presented myself at court, I would have spoken spontaneously and without restraint, my words wild and untamed. I likely would have caused such offense that I'd be banished or exiled for sure. This is precisely why I avoid people's affairs, choosing instead to hide away from the world and live quietly, keeping my head down." Number 5. Admitting coarse manners. The shogun once expressed his desire to meet Master Taigu and entrusted the nun Sushi, abbess of Saishoji, with arranging the encounter. Privately, the master received word of the shogun's intentions, and that very night. Without any fanfare, he quietly departed the capital, slipping away unnoticed. Years later, a monk questioned Taigu about this incident, saying it is taught that the Buddha's teaching must be shared with kings, ministers, and powerful patrons to benefit all beings. Why then, in the past, did your reverence avoid the shogun's summons and run away? Taigu, undeterred by the inquiry, responded with clarity and resolve. Those who dedicate themselves to the Dharma do not shrink from death or destruction. The monk, still puzzled, pressed further, saying, I remain in doubt about the meaning of your reverence's words. To this, Taigu explained with characteristic bluntness, by nature, I am coarse and rough in my manners. I lack the ability to smooth things over with polite or comforting words. I would have caused more trouble than benefit had I presented myself before the shogun. Number 6. Cryptic answers to the daimyo's questions. On another occasion, a powerful daimyo who had supported Taigu generously approached him and said, I have served your reverence with devotion, granting you land and erecting there a temple. What I still can't figure out is how you're going to do something for me. Taigu, calm and enigmatic as ever, simply replied, As for me, empty space. The daimyo said, I beseech your reverence, instruct me in 1 or 2 koans. The master shouted, Empty and boundless, nothing holy. Does your lordship understand? The daimyo replied, I do not. The master told him, My lecture is over. The daimyo, however, persisted, and the master told him, words and phrases, by explaining things rationally you can get some sort of toehold, but it's all idle talk, tedious blather. And I'm sure this learned priest can explain it just fine, the master added, turning his head and indicating a nearby monk. Zen Master Taigu embodied the paradox of the great fool, rejecting worldly expectations while offering profound spiritual insight. His eccentricity, simplicity, and sharp wisdom reflect the essence of Zen, a path beyond words, titles, and attachments. Thanks for your patience. I hope you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel. Raj Rishi.